Welcome to Arsenal Report, your daily source for all things Arsenal FC. From match updates and transfer talk to behind-the-scenes stories, we've got it all. If you're a true gunner, this is your home. Hit subscribe and join the pride. Victory through harmony. Let's get started. Advisor to the board. Blanc arrived at the club with significant footballing pedigree. He previously spent time with Italian giants Juventus, among other clubs, and was involved in the Turin club's move to the Allianz Stadium. The 62-year-old also spent time with Paris Saint-Germain in his native France, serving as the club's CEO for a decade. He officially joined United just weeks after Ratcliffe's partial takeover of the club was confirmed in early 2024. Before taking on his role, he became Ineos Sports CEO in February 2023. When announcing that appointment, Ratcliffe pointed to a particular ambition to raise our standards in football, with Ineos in charge of OGC Nice, among other clubs, before the Manchester United investment.BBC Sport reports that Blanc had previously represented United at European football and Premier League meetings, but didn't do so at the last Premier League shareholders meeting. On that occasion, CEO Barada was joined by Chief Financial Officer Roger Bell. Ratcliffe has overseen a number of changes in the club's leadership since taking charge of football affairs midway through the 2023-24 season. The billionaire also brought in Dan Ashworth as sporting director, though the former Newcastle transfer chief only lasted a few months in the role. In a March interview with The Times, Ratcliffe indicated he could be convinced to walk away from the club if he receives the same amount of hate as the Glazer family. Majority owners the Glazer have been the subject of fan protests at various points in their tenure. I don't mind being unpopular because I get that nobody likes seeing Manchester United down where they are, and nobody likes the decisions we're having to make, Ratcliffe said. If I draw a bit of the ire, I can put up with that. But I'm no different to the average person. It's not nice, particularly for friends and family. So, eventually, if it reached the extent that the Glazer family have been abused, then I'd have to say, look, enough's enough, guys. Let somebody else do this. They can't really come to a match, the Glazers. Christian Norgard apologised to Gabriel Martinelli for his horror tackle and then tipped Arsenal to survive the magic cauldron of Madrid. Gunners manager Mikel Arteta claimed the Brentford skipper should have been sent off for scything down Martinelli, while the Brazilian forward complained the late lunging challenge could have broken. His leg Norgard appeared to be making little headway in his attempt to make amends with Martinelli at half-time, but later revealed. He accepted my apology and shook my hand. He thought the tackle was maybe harder than I did, but he was fine, and Declan Rice as well. He said it's part of football. You try and make these tackles to stop transitions, and there was no evil intention in the challenge. Looking back at it, maybe it was a bit harder than I wanted it to be, but I would never set out to hurt a player intentionally. Sometimes you end up in situations like I did with Jordan Pickford at Everton, where I got a straight red card, which was overturned, but it was never intentional. Norgard believes Arsenal will defend their 3-goal advantage in the Champions League quarter-final second leg on Wednesday, but warned they would need to navigate a path through Real Madrid's mystical powers in the Bernabeu. He said, I think Arsenal will finish the job. I watched the first leg and they were brilliant. Even though the Bernabeu is a magical place, especially for the home side, but they will need more than magic to go through this time. Brentford remain the Premier League's transit lounge club, too good to go down, but not seriously threatening to reach Europe. Norgard admitted, we've never won here, and it's a funny feeling. We've taken 2 points off Chelsea and Arsenal in our last 2 games, and we are neither dancing around to music in the dressing room, nor disappointed. The biggest club in the world came here the other night and got nothing, so to take a point when they, Arsenal, still had something to play for is a very good result. They will be mad for it in Madrid, and Thomas Partey says Arsenal have reached a beautiful moment in Mikel Arteta's grand design to conquer Europe. In the modern lexicon of hipster prattle, everybody in football these days talks about a project as if forward planning was an optional alternative to busking it. For most fans of a certain age, projects were the province of geography field trips or extra homework. But there is no denying that Arsenal's Champions League moment of truth against Real Madrid on Wednesday night feels like a defining pinch point in manager Arteta's reign. and midfielder Partey, a veteran of trips to the Bernabeu cauldron in his previous incarnation with cross-city rivals Atletico Madrid, agrees it will be a decisive test of the Gunners' mentality. Arsenal have never lost a 3-goal advantage from the first leg of a knockout tie in Europe, and Partey says they are in no mood to become the fall guys in Madrid's coconut shy. After galloping forward to open the scoring against Brentford from his beat as a locum right-back, he said, "It's going to be one of the biggest games. With the situation and the mentality and the lead we have to be confident. We have to go there and play our game and try to win. It's not going to be easy. We know how good they are and the quality they have from back to front. Every stadium is intimidating when you are not at your best, but we know what we have to do. Stick or twist." Arsenal's dilemma is whether to sit tight or to apply the same game plan which destroyed Real at the Emirates. Partey, who has won 3 of his 14 encounters with Real for Atletico and Arsenal, was fortified by the bravado of his 4th goal of the season, shrugging, "Well, I don't think it's tricky. If we are confident with our game, we play our game. It's not going to be something different. It's a beautiful moment in the Arsenal project, and a moment that every player wants to be part of. I'm really happy to be part of it." To beat Real 3-0 and play them off the park was a statement that Arsenal are ready to move up to the next level. "They have missed the boat 3 years running in the title race," Partey said. "Well, I think the first leg was the first half of it. We know it's not going to be easy. They have some of the best players in the world, but anytime we play our game, we are the best in the world. No disrespect to Brentford or Lord Mayors, but for Arsenal, a dreary 1-1 draw after demolishing one of world football's aristocrats was never going to cut it. The Bees deserved Yoane Wissa's equaliser, his 16th goal of the season. But apart from semi-automated VAR making its debut to scrub out Kieran Tierney's first-half header for offside, and Arteta's slanging match with opposite number Thomas Frank after Christian Norgaard's poor tackle on Gabriel Martinelli, there wasn't enough incident to fill a postcard. On the other hand, the Arsenal project takes off in Madrid this week. Gunners fans will be hanging their postcards in the Tate Gallery, one of Tate That's greatest hits. Real Madrid won't be signing William Saliba until 2026, apparently, which is good of them. Florentino Perez must have missed the Frenchman, confirming only last month that he wants to become an Arsenal legend. If Mikel Arteta and his players needed more proof of how much damage they inflicted on the egos of Jude Bellingham and his Madridista mates last Tuesday night, then reports from Spain that Perez has made it his mission to snatch Saliba away in a couple of years suggest the European champions are rattled all the way down to their white cotton socks. The real president is still an obsessive collector of Galacticos, and as far as he's concerned, everyone has their price. It says much that the player Madrid have targeted for a well-timed charm offensive is the French defender who made his close pal Kylian Mbappe look like a journeyman last Tuesday night. To have any hope of overturning a daunting deficit in Wednesday night's Champions League return, the European champions will have to stop Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli running riot once again. Carlo Ancelotti has also got to find a way to deal with Martin Odegaard's invention, Thomas Partey's industry, and Declan Rice's free kicks. But the bottom line is that Madrid have to score at least 3 goals, and for that to happen, Saliba will have to have one of those nights. Forget this result. The Premier League title race was already done and dusted before Yoane Wissa hooked home a Brentford equaliser to cancel out Partey's rampaging opener. Wissa stayed humble by celebrating with a moment's meditation in the style of Erling Haaland and Miles Lewis-Skelly. Liverpool now need just 9 points from their final 6 games to be crowned champions. 8 will probably do it given their superior goal difference. But Arsenal eyes were always on the Bernabeu rather than the top of the table. It was no surprise that Arteta made 5 changes to his team, but with centre-back enforcer Gabriel Magalhaes missing after surgery, it would have caused Ancelotti to raise one of his famous eyebrows to see Saliba in his usual position. Thomas Frank's team have made an art form of being stubborn. They're not slow either when it comes to putting a foot in. Just ask Gabriel Martinelli. The Brazilian was hit by a tackle that Sergio Ramos would have been proud of when he was sent spiralling by the boot of Bees' skipper Christian Norgaard. Frank's attempt to calm the seething Arteta on the touchline didn't go down well either, especially when Simon Hooper opted for a yellow card rather than red. The last thing the Gunners' boss needed with a handful of Real Madrid's scalp in his grasp was another injury. Ben White was missing with a knee problem that is expected to clear in the next 72 hours. Saka, Odegaard, Lewis Skelly, Mikel Merino and Jurrien Timber were moved to the bench. Arteta was preparing to bring the first three on after an hour when Rice and Partey showed they've got plenty of strings to their bow. Frank will be furious about how his men were exposed by a counter-attack from their own corner. But David Raya's throw found Rice, and he galloped fully 70 yards before inviting Partey to slam a shot into the roof of Mark Flecken's net with the perfect pass. In Madrid, they are already talking about La Remontada, a comeback to rival the way Barcelona overturned a 4-goal deficit against PSG in 2017 by winning the second leg 6-1. You can be sure that Ancelotti will have taken note of how the Gunners struck so ruthlessly with a blink of an eye break. Even when Wissa brought Brentford level, Arteta opted to bring off Rice rather than hope his in-form midfielder could win him the game. Saka almost did the trick anyway, with an injury time effort that curled just wide. But now it's on to the Bernabeu for the Gunners and the chance to show why they've been installed as Champions League favourites.